Chapter 159. Zicheng, who only loves Wei Ran, started to collect the cotton by turns day and night after getting the automatic harvester. It only took 3 days to collect all the cotton. Fortunately, Zicheng let Wei Ran collect the cotton, fully automatic manufacturing machinery. So finally, 1 week later, before the severe winter came, all the winter clothes needed for the front line were rushed out. Wei Ran hasn't seen anyone from Yan in the past 2 days, and even Yan and Suyi didn't have breakfast this morning. She asked Zicheng, "Brother, where did Suyi and Xiaoyang go?" Zicheng handed the milk in front of her and said, "When the winter clothes are made, I'll ask Suyi and the two of them to give them to Shengguanling together in the past." Oh, Wei Ran understood. If the normal plane transport is too slow, the front line can't wait that long, so Suyi can only transfer with his winter clothes. And Yan used to, because the place where Shengguanling is staying now is a dense forest and she can help use plants to carry it. Zicheng rubbed her and made up his mind the wedding is only half a month away. "You have to eat and drink well during this time, and wait to marry me." Wei Ran suppressed a smile. "Do you want to raise pigs?" "Then that's fine too, marry a little pig." "I don't want." "Don't want what?" "Don't marry me, make it clear." Wei Ran kept giggling while holding the milk. Liao Jilan has been made insensitive these days, and he can turn a blind eye like Jiang Nanfeng and the others. Chen Wei flicked the tablet a few times. After Jiang Nanfeng's restoration, Nanjing has restored its own base station signal, and now you can check work emails even if you are not in the office building. It's just that the signal is only limited to the southern base so far. Brother Cheng, so far most of the small private bases have indicated their ownership to me, and the border camps discussed with Colonel Shengguan to deploy on the border have almost been implemented, and they will be stationed on the border in the future. Zicheng put one arm casually on the back of Wei Ran's chair. Suyi's not at the base these days, but the training of the defense team must not be slack. Ming, it's up to you to watch over these few days. If anyone who can't stand it must be eliminated. Ming nodded, okay. Recently, the training of the guards has become more and more demanding, which is for the vast majority of people who are just ordinary people who have never been exposed to professional training. For them, it is not an exaggeration to describe it as a practice in a devil's prison. But the current training is only 1/3 of Zicheng's previous training, so Zicheng has actually adjusted their physical fitness appropriately. As the forwards of the southern border base, they must not only have higher levels of abilities, but also have to grow physically. Liao Jilan watched them talk about the work content of the base without any scruples in front of him. Let's not talk about whether these are important or not, but he is not from the southern border after all, so he is not suitable either. He put down the bowl in his hand and couldn't help asking. I said, "Is it really okay to talk about the affairs of your base in front of 2 outsiders?" Jiang Nanfeng said with a smile, "What's the matter? We want to talk about it. Say, what's your opinion, little boy?" He was very angry at that little boy, and these people always called him that during this time. Chen Wei was still pulling the tablet, as if he saw something, smiled, and looked at Liao Jilan. "It wasn't just now, but it will be from now on." "What do you mean?" "Mean?" Chen Wei lifted the tablet. "Your elder brother, they are also on the voluntary list." What? Liao Jilan stood up abruptly. Although he has come to the southern border for so many days, he will indeed see that Zicheng and his party are not as good as the rumors, and that the southern border is indeed under the management of Zicheng, and people live and work in peace and contentment. He saw that things could still be planted in this villa, and even when he arrived not long ago, he found that many people were plowing the fields to irrigate the fields. He asked what this was for, and those people replied that he was waiting for fertile land. Let's grow rice. When it comes to cotton collection and the speed with which winter clothes are being made, he is actually shaken in his heart. But the news that his elder brother voluntarily belonged came a bit suddenly. Before he had time to tell his elder brother what happened here, the elder brother volunteered. Then his previous momentum of patting his chest and saying that he would be an intelligence agent who no one knows and is elusive is in vain. Zicheng took Wei Ran to the island he had hoped for a wedding. There seems to be overlap with Wei Ran for the fantasy wedding. It's so beautiful here. Zicheng walked up to her, put his arms around her slender shoulders, and pointed to a huge lawn in the distance. I originally planned to be our wedding venue there, but now because of my little one, the pig can't wait to marry me, so I can only cancel it. I don't have it. I don't admit it. Wei Ran raised her fair face, smiled and pretended to turn around and was about to leave. With a smile on his lips, Zicheng pulled her back into his arms. Well, yes, it's me, I'm anxious. Wei Ran looked at the blue sky and white clouds in the distance. Blow white yarn. She could think of that scene. Extremely beautiful. Actually, I can continue to be there now. Zicheng lowered his eyes and nodded her nose. After half a month, the weather will still be cold, and I don't want to part with it. April is more spring and flowers bloom, but the plan cannot keep up with the changes. The original location was an outlet when the weather was cold. How could he want Wei Ran to stand in the cold wearing a thin wedding dress? Wei Ran was at a loss again. Then, didn't you say that the wedding was still held on this island? Did it change later? Zicheng clasped Wei Ran's little hands tightly and walked back for a while. A huge natural pit appeared. The inside is simply a miniature version of the island outside. Because the bottom is not very deep, Wei Ran can see the scenery of the Xianxia under the sufficient sunlight. The seawater is light blue and crystal clear. The fish swimming in the water and the shrubs sinking into the water are clearly visible. There is also a large white sand beach on the side, and there is a dense forest behind it, which adds a touch of lightness. It may be because of the smaller version, which is more refined. This island is so unique. Zicheng didn't take her down, but just hugged her waist by the side. This Xianxia will have a constant temperature effect due to geological reasons, so it won't feel cold underneath, so the wedding will be held here. Wei Ran smiled openly. It's good here. I like it. Zicheng tightened her coat and stroked the wind-blown hair on her cheeks behind her ears. Her eyes were full of tenderness. Meaning, I wanted to give you the grandest wedding, but I was in a hurry and couldn't wait. I want to tell everyone, not just the southern border. He kissed the back of her hand and said, You Wei Ran is I'm Zicheng's wife. Wei Ran wrapped her arms around Zicheng's neck. I don't want the grandest wedding, I just want a Zicheng who only loves Wei Ran after. Speaking, she stood on tiptoe and kissed his lips proactively. Chapter 160. On the eve of the wedding, the southern border base continued to search for cotton materials and processed and made warm clothes day and night. Before the severe winter, it not only supplied the whole line of winter clothes for the southern border front line, but also pre-empted the reserves of everyone in the southern border base. An announcement personally issued by Zicheng immediately spread to every corner of the southern border, causing everyone to shout excitedly. The big wedding of the leader of the southern border base, under the universal celebration, everyone in the base can get a set of warm clothes. The big wedding is approaching. Chen Wei and his party go out early and return late every day, and they can only be seen when they are having breakfast. Wei Ran felt puzzled, because Zicheng was always by her side recently, and she didn't seem to be busy. Wei Ran asked Chen Wei curiously, What are you busy with recently? Why do I think my brother looks very leisurely? Chen Wei leaning at her, Did you do it on purpose? The confused Wei Ran blinked her eyes and looked at Chen Wei with a sincere and innocent face. Yanning covered her mouth and laughed straight. They are suffering because of Brother Cheng's ignorance of affairs recently, and your marriage with Brother Cheng will arrive in a few days. And many leaders of the base did not invite but also personally sent the batch of supplies is used as a congratulatory gift, and people who come here with good intentions can't just refuse to accept them and drive them away. So these days I have been properly arranging the food and accommodation for these people, and at the same time ensuring the safety of the base. And Chen Wei continued, the wedding will be divided into 2 sessions. Because of the limited venue of the wedding island, we only have some high-level officials from the base and other base leaders to participate. In the afternoon, the announcement ceremony and dinner will be held in the large square in the base. The News of Zicheng and Wei Ran's wedding was spread to every base outside after he intentionally dispersed. But Zicheng only invited the snow base to attend the ceremony. Although the previous 6 bases were annexed by the 9 layers base, there are still many small and medium-sized bases active outside the border of the southern border. Because Zicheng adheres to the other bases outside the border of the southern border base, he will ignore it and develop it as you like, but under the premise that he must not interfere or infringe on the interests of the southern border. Who doesn't want to curry favor with the forces in the southern border? These leaders have come to the door one after another, even if they can't enter the base. It's a way of showing their friendship. Wei Ran suddenly realized and laughed. I don't know. I seldom go out to Yiki Island after I come back. I don't know that it is so lively now. My brother didn't tell me. Every time I ask him about the wedding, he always uses the 3 words under arrangement sent me away. Jiang Yanfeng teased. I said, Xiao Ran, you, a bride-to-be, are so relieved. You just wait to get married, and you almost don't know what life is like outside. Wei Ran replied with a smile. Don't worry, after waiting for me, I will give you a good plan for you and Gu Ming, and it will never be worse than mine. Jiang Yanfeng gritted his teeth. Xiao Ran has also learned badly. She is not cute at all. Then he saw Gu Ming's thoughtfulness, so he knew what he was thinking, and quickly reprimanded him angrily. Put away your thoughts. I don't want it. Everyone burst into laughter. Tomorrow is the wedding day. Sun Xiang from the Snow Mountain base came here with congratulatory gifts. Zicheng arranged for her and her group to live in the same villa as Liao Jilun in Yehi Highland. 1 year Sun Xiang, whom I hadn't seen before, was still so charming. Wei Ran, why are you still so skinny and tender? You haven't changed much. It seems that Zicheng still protects you tightly. Wei Ran smiled. That can't compare with you, sexy beauty, charming and enchanting. No one dares to say what you say. Sun Xiang agreed without shame. Indeed, this is what a woman should have. Tomorrow I will teach you a few tricks to ensure that Zicheng will be soft under your feet for the rest of your life. Wei Ran secretly glanced at Zicheng, who was not far away, looked back without any trace, and nodded with a smile. I think it's also possible. Sun Xiang also came here for a purpose this time. She heard that the southern border can grow food. So she, in addition to sincere congratulations this time, I also want to take this opportunity to make an agreement with Muzi to pre-order food. But she won't bring it up now because Zicheng is in a state of not wanting to talk about work right now. Before going to bed at night, Wei Ran suddenly remembered the old customs that the adults said. She stopped making the bed, looked at Zicheng, who was sitting on the table and reading emails with a notebook, and said, Brother, maybe everything is right. Do the couples have to stay apart the night before they get married? Zicheng raised his head, and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. Who said that? I heard it from the adults before. Zicheng listened, hearing Wei Ran's words. I couldn't help but chuckled a little, got up and walked towards Wei Ran with long legs, held her shoulders and kneaded them a few times and said, Are you nervous about tomorrow? Wei Ran hugged his strong waist for a while, then nodded lightly. It seems a bit. What I've been looking forward to is finally coming true, and it's a bit unreal. She thought of Jicheng base, and she paused for a while, raised his head and asked recently, the base has been crowded with people, so, will Xianxia take the opportunity to sneak in? Zicheng lowered his head and kissed her forehead tenderly. Her thin lips pressed against her delicate and smooth skin. Ran, after tomorrow you will really be my wife, so don't be nervous or afraid of anything. I will never allow anything to interrupt our best days tomorrow at the southern border, except what I allow people, otherwise even a fly will not be able to enter the southern border. But Zicheng put his clear and clean index finger on her lips and cut off her words. Have you tried on your wedding dress? Is it? When Wei Ran mentioned the wedding dress, a light flashed in Wei Ran's eyes. She nodded vigorously with delighted eyes. A few days ago, when I tried on the veil and the wedding dress, it was so beautiful. She remembered Zicheng's excuse to leave that day, so she pursed her mouth and said, Brother, why don't you want to look at me? Zicheng's deep and magnetic laughter sounded. The design I made for you is the only one in the world. It is exclusive to you, Wei Ran, including me. I couldn't bear to look at it that day because when I was making this wedding dress, you were still a person to me. Extravagant hope, now what my heart desires is about to come true. I want to save the most awaited moment for tomorrow. Wei ran, red-eyed, buried herself in Zicheng's neck. I really feel very lucky. Lucky enough to be able to stand by your side again. Zicheng put his big hand on her back and rubbed it gently. Who says I'm not? Wei Ran was so moved that she kept stroking his reliable back with her small hands, and even touched the unspeakable position if there was nothing there. Zicheng originally thought that tomorrow was the wedding, and didn't want to trouble her tonight, but Wei Ran didn't seem to have such a plan. Ran, don't touch it. Don't. Hiss ... Where do you put your hand? He ... Just put it where it should be. I see ... Your little mouth, and it should stay where it should be. Chapter 161. Big Wedding. 9 layers of base. Xianxia stood in a messy room. There was also a trembling golden dragon kneeling beside him. Boss ... We have tried many ways, but we just can't get close to the border of the southern border. There are not only barriers but also an extremely powerful enchantment. Now the southern border is not allowed to enter and exit. And those who sneaked into the southern border have long been we lost contact before the southern border was closed. Incomparably. Powerful Xianxia asked coldly. The golden dragon was even more frightened and shouted, No, leader, spare your life. Leader, spare your life. Xianxia slowly took off the black leather gloves he wore day and night. The golden dragon didn't dare to look up, but only heard Xianxia's light words, you go. He quickly stood up and wanted to leave the room, away from Xianxia, but what caught his eye was a sharp black claw, which was no different from an alien. Shocked, his face changed suddenly, and he turned around and was about to run out of the room. After running 2 steps, he stopped abruptly, with a crack appearing in the middle of his terrified eyes. His head was split into 2 halves in a second, blood spurted out immediately, and he fell limp. Xianxia expressionlessly licked his blood-stained paws, staring gloomily at the corpse on the ground. You think I don't know what you want to escape? If you betray me, you will die. He smiled coldly again. The family you sent out, I have brought them back. Don't worry, I will take good care of them. Swish. A slight, inaudible sound sounded outside the window. Several black, ferocious and horrifying aliens crawled around the window looking for the smell of blood, grinning their mouths with exposed gums and hissing their slender tongues, but they never came in. It wasn't until Xianxia waved his hand that the group of aliens rushed into the room, vying to eat the corpses on the ground, and soon there was no meat left. A relatively petite alien lay docilely at Xianxia's feet, with its head hanging on his lap. Xianxia stroked the alien with madness on his gloomy face. Xiao ran, how good-looking you are like this, how beautiful are you. Be obedient. At this time, if you look out of the window, you will find that the entire Zhejiang base has been reduced to a strange-shaped lair. All the supernatural beings inside have been mutated, and the remaining living people are just rations. The day of the wedding. Zicheng first waited for Wei Ran to appear on the island. Shangguanling, Guoming, Chenwei, Jiangnanfang Suyi, I also went to the island together. In the middle of the small island at the bottom, there is a 3-story high natural boulder standing out from the bottom of the sea, and the stones extending from the side wall of the ground happen to be parallel to it. It is convenient for people to walk, and it is covered with fresh flower petals until it reaches the huge boulder. Every other section on the stone ladder, there are clusters of delicate flowers hanging on the wooden pillars and hanging with white gauze, blowing with the wind. The aroma of petals attracts colorful butterflies to fly. For a time it was as beautiful as a fairyland. Zicheng was waiting tall and straight on the boulder in a hand-cut black suit. Shangguanling rushed back to be the officiant and followed Zicheng on top. He yelled down, Xiao Lai, where is Dongyang Xiao Dongyang? Took someone to drive to Wei Ran's place, so he didn't follow him just now. While turning back, Xiao Li took out his satellite phone and called. Hey, have you guys gone out yet? Uh, what? Gu Ming and the others thought something happened over there and looked nervously at Xiao Li. You said that Miss Wei felt that the car was too slow, so Xiao Bai flew over directly. What this time it was Chen Wei's turn to be surprised. As soon as the words fell, the lion's roar came, deafening. A gust of wind followed. Xiao Bai with big snow-white wings appeared in the air. Sitting sideways with a strong back, Wei Ran was wearing an off-white fur coat. When Xiao Bai swooped down immediately, Wei Ran smiled and shouted at Zicheng, "Brother, don't move, just wait here for me." Zicheng smiled helplessly. He had imagined the scene where she appeared here countless times, but he had never thought of this scene alone. However, he likes it very much. Wei Ran jumped off Xiao Bai's back and was about to leave, but the hem of her skirt caught her and she yelled anxiously, "Oh, my wedding dress." "Xiao Ran, why did you come here by yourself?" "Gu Ming, you don't pull it too hard. Why is this skirt so long?" "Miss Wei, you are too aggressive." Jiang Nanfeng and the big men hurriedly helped Wei Ran hold the trailing tail. Fortunately, Su Yi, who had the foresight, teleported Yan Yang and the others over. Sun Ziang couldn't laugh or cry, "My aunt, you said how anxious you are to marry someone. The groom can't run away here. He just went out and couldn't hold it down. Urgent." A few women drove the gentleman aside. Then help her carry the wedding dress to the stone steps and lay it on the ground. Wei Ran suddenly took off the fur coat and threw it aside. That wedding dress was unveiled for the first time. In order for Mu Zicheng to be the first to see her wearing this wedding dress full of Mu Zicheng's love for many years, when she tried on the wedding dress, she always went into the space to try it on. Mu Zicheng's dark eyes were full of love, and he looked at Wei Ran extremely tenderly, fascinated. The square neck gradually fades into a shallow V-neck to reveal the softness of her jawline and sexy collarbone. The short embroidered lace sleeves are delicate and pretty, and the connection of the slender waist makes people feel full of grip. The most amazing thing is that the whole wedding dress is embroidered with flowers, and the pattern is embellished with diamonds like blooming eye-catching, so that the fluffy skirt is not too heavy, but neat and elegant. Wearing a crown inlaid with pink diamonds on the top of the head, there are also layers of light veils decorated with powder diamonds underneath, which makes the extreme luxury of this wedding dress a more gorgeous level. Although Wei Ran is not considered to be an all-powerful woman, she is already a pretty person. With her creamy skin, her eyebrows are as picturesque as anyone else. Mu Zicheng murmured, "She's so beautiful." Wei Ran seemed to have heard Mu Zicheng's words, and raised her head with a slightly powdered face to stare up. The two looked at each other from a distance, with lingering eyebrows and eyes expressing their affection to each other. She silently said 2 words, "Wait for me." Then, pinching the hem of the skirt studded with dazzling diamonds, she stepped up the first stone step in high heels. The second piece, the third piece. The diamonds extending from the hem of the skirt to the big tail are shining brightly under the sunlight, as if they are coming from the Milky Way. It's like a dream. Before Wei Ran walked halfway, Mu Zicheng appeared in front of her and hugged her into his arms, then disappeared on the stone steps, and appeared in the middle of the natural boulders in the next second. Wei Ran pursed her lips slightly and said, "Brother, it's okay, I'll walk in front of you." Mu Zicheng laughed lightly and reached out to caress her face. "But you're walking too slowly, I'm impatient." Then it won't take long. Wei Ran couldn't remember who was so anxious to let Xiao Bai fly over at the moment. Chapter 162. Big Marriage 2. Mu Zicheng said domineeringly, "No. I've been waiting for too long, so I can't wait for a second now." Wei Ran smiled happily, grabbed Mu Zicheng's big hand with both hands and pressed it on her slender waist. Wrapped around the back of his neck, she pursed her pink lips and wanted to send her a kiss. Shangguanling couldn't bear it anymore and interrupted. "You two, and I, the officiant, are here. Please be restrained." Only then did Wei Ran see Shangguanling's existence and laughed a few times. "Ha ha ha, the process is a little faster." Chen Wei and the others also walked up at this time. It was laughter again and again. Jiang Nanfeng even teased Xiao Ran, "You should be more reserved and be a bit of a bride, okay?" Wei Ran just gave him a grimace. "I want you to take care of it." Sheng Wanling read from the manuscript given by Chen Wei. Wei Ran, would you like to marry Mu Zicheng as his wife? Love him and be loyal to him, no matter what you go through until. I do a little embarrassed to look at Sheng Wanling It seems to be a little faster, isn't it? Sheng Wanling, yes, the group behind laughed again. Jiang Nanfeng's hands shaking the camera equipment. Sheng Wanling looked at Mu Zicheng on the other side with a blank expression and said, since the new couple is too impatient, the hostess decided to ask succinct questions. Mu Zicheng, are you willing to marry Wei Ran as your wife? Mu Zicheng, the smile on the corner of Cheng's mouth never disappeared, and he looked at Wei Ran and said softly, I am willing. Chen Wei was holding a small tray covered with red flannel, on which lay 2 simple and elegant rings. Sheng Wanling said, please exchange the rings. Then Mu Zicheng picked up one of the smaller rings with a small pink diamond in the middle. Mu Zicheng held the ring and looked down at Wei Ran. This ring is far less valuable than this wedding dress, but... He took Wei Ran's hand, stroked the ring finger of her right hand and said, from I did all the selection of rough stones, diamond cutting, setting and polishing myself, and my name and your name are engraved on the finger ring. Do you want it? Wei Ran was once again completely moved. Crying and crying, she nodded straight yes. 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 She thought that the wedding dress designed by herself had shocked her enough, but this ring shocked her again. Regarding her matter, he never wanted to pretend to be someone else. Regardless of matter and size. Mu Zicheng slowly pushed the ring into her ring finger, and then slowly dropped a kiss on the ring. Wei Ran picked up another ring and she saw Mu Zicheng's words, my last name and your first name, from the side. Mr. As she put the ring on his left ring finger, she murmured, brother, the luckiest thing in my life is to be able to come back to you. You have done so much for me. I thought about it, but I couldn't think of it. What have I done for you? Mu Zicheng was about to speak, but Wei Ran continued to say to himself, but for the rest of my life, I will love you with all my strength, and I will love Zicheng until the end of my life. She will no longer be obsessed with the past, because what they have now is the present and the future. Only the temperature of the skin when 2 people hug each other is the most real. Wei Ran's eyes were moist, but her smile was like a flower. Mu Zicheng, I love you. Mu Zicheng looked at her with turbulent waves in his eyes. He grabbed her waist and pulled towards him violently, followed by a hot kiss so fierce that it seemed to swallow her up. Mu Zicheng really likes to hear any love words from Wei Ran, especially the slightest bit of love for him. Not to mention still looking forward to the moment when it will finally come true for many years. Su Yui and the others booed and whistled for a while before Mu Zicheng and Wei Ran disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Can't wait for the wedding night in the bridal chamber. At this moment, the newlyweds were as crazy as if they were experiencing joy for the first time. Women's wedding dresses and men's suits were scattered on the floor. The 2 are talking to each other like glue. Mu Zicheng whispered in her ear. Wei Ran just wanted to open her pink lips, but was bitten by Mu Zicheng to stop her mouth. Think about it again. Who am I? Wei Ran blushed and half closed her eyes. Her delicate lips parted for a while before she recovered, and the fingers on his arm shone brightly, making her think of today's picture. She married Mu Zicheng. Husband. Mu Zicheng was extremely satisfied with this soft call. Wei Ran whispered over and over again, shouting what he wanted to hear. And Mu Zicheng hugged her tightly, with such strength that he seemed to want to integrate Wei Ran into one with him. The dinner was held in the large square of the base, which can be regarded as an official announcement of the southern border base, leader's wife occasion. Wei Ran, who was tormented by Mu Zicheng, couldn't get up on the bed. Mu Zicheng sat by the bed refreshed and said, you rest at home. I'll come back and sleep with you after I've said a few words. I don't, I'm going. Of course she didn't want to. What day is it today? It's her and Zicheng's big day, so the dinner party is also very important, and there will be many people there. If she was absent, wouldn't everyone know that Wei Ran was absent because of that? That would be a real shame. Zicheng chuckled a few times in a deep and magnetic way, and of course he knew what she was thinking, so he said, "Then I'll find you some more comfortable clothes. It's cold and open at night, so you can't wear a wedding dress anymore." When Wei Ran moved a little, she felt excruciatingly sore, especially when her legs couldn't be stretched straight at all, and it hurt when she stretched them. She groaned in her heart, brother, he should be over this. After Zicheng found the clothes, he put them on one by one, and finally put on a thick coat and a woolen cat ear hat. He held her on his lap, and leaned against his arms, and fed her a bottle of recovery water. Then Zicheng picked her up and wanted to leave, but Wei Ran kicked her legs and wanted to get down. "I don't want to hug." Zicheng frowned slightly. "What's the matter?" Wei Ran said, "I am now the wife of the leader of the South Border Base. I have to look like a wife. You can no longer hug me around." I went. She wanted to take care of Zicheng's image. But Zicheng directly denied it, with a serious expression on his face. "Wei Ran, you never need to worry about anything, and you never need to change. You are you. If you want to live with your temper, I won't, and I won't be happy, remember." Wei Ran stared blankly. Looking at him, he nodded blankly. "Is there anyone in the southern region who doesn't know that I like to carry my wife around? Who dares to say anything? Who dares to say that I throw him out?" Zicheng didn't let her go, but walked out with his long legs as usual, then disappeared into the room. Chapter 163. Wei Ran is his bottom line. The usually lonely big square is now full of tables and chairs, and it is very lively with people coming and going. The invitation list drawn up by Chen Wei is only the incumbents in the base, no matter how high or low, and the managers of each district, in a form similar to an announcement meeting. But in the end almost the entire base came, and those who were not invited spontaneously brought their own dishes as congratulatory gifts to the banquet. Those old chiefs who had already been relieved of power pushed by Anguo, who had suffered a stroke and was unconscious, to sit in his seat and chatted. "Look at this big noodle table. Why don't you just get married? As for such extravagance. Old Zhao, keep your voice down. I heard that Zicheng paid for all the supplies tonight and didn't use the resources in the base one penny. How is it possible? How much material does this need? How can he have it?" Before he came to the southern border, he was the invisible rich man he said before, and he didn't look down on the southern border at all. Now the southern border can start self-sufficiency, as well as the winter clothes we wear. This kind of supply is completely dependent on Zicheng. So, Lao Zhao, you know how cruel Zicheng is. If you don't want to be kicked out, don't say so much. HMP. The dinner party was about to start, and Zicheng appeared in front of the square entrance with Wei Ran in his arms. Just as Zicheng was about to leave, Wei Ran stopped him again. "Let me down first." Seeing Zicheng's displeasure on his face, she quickly said, "Hey brother, I'm not doing it for the image of a leader or wife. I want to walk side by side with you, to where we belong." Zicheng then calmed down, his eyes flashed with a faint smile. "Okay, listen to my wife." Wei Ran blushed immediately, and when her feet hit the ground she glanced angrily and said, "Where are so many people, huh? Don't you dare." Zicheng's face darkened. Yes, Wei Ran walked forward along his hair, dragging his hand. "Let's go, husband. It's almost time." Zicheng nodded in satisfaction. As soon as they entered the square, the 2 rows of guards guarding the entrance with guns straightened up and shouted to Zicheng and Wei Ran, "Congratulations to Mr. Cheng and the young lady on their wedding." Wei Ran covered her mouth and smiled helplessly. Because once she said that it was too old to call her Mrs. Madam, and then spread it out for some unknown reason, and gradually everyone became young madam in front of her. Zicheng was very satisfied with what the guard said. He nodded slightly in agreement. When the people inside heard the movement, they all spread the word Mr. Chang is here. Gu Ming and his party in Xiaobai were at the main table. Everyone stood up at this meeting. The originally bustling square was now silent, facing the two people who were not far away. Zicheng and Wei Ran clasped their fingers together and walked side by side in the aisle with the red carpet in the middle, slowly walking towards the main seat. Until it reaches the main position that symbolizes power. Today Zicheng, who is as powerful as a king, slowly slid his cold eyes towards everyone below him, and opened his thin lips coldly. It's Wei Ran and I's wedding day. My Wei Ran, from today onwards, she is the person in charge of the South Border Base and the only wife of my Zicheng in this life. If you are loyal to me, you must be loyal to her first. Every word. For me, the word Wei Ran is the bottom line. Whoever touches it will die. Wei Ran raised her head and stared obsessively at the person beside her who was cold and heartless outside, but who was extremely gentle and omnipotent towards her. Is her man. Then Zicheng picked up the white wine glass again and said, "This glass is a toast to everyone who came to my wedding dinner." Then he sipped all the wine in the glass, and then Chen Wei poured him another glass. The moment everyone saw him pick up the wine glass, they all picked up the glass and drank with him. Zicheng didn't let go of the wine glass in his hand and continued calmly, "This glass is for everyone here, for everyone in the southern border, whether it's supernatural beings or ordinary people, because you all use your own stand up for the southern border." Then he raised his hand and sipped the wine in his hand. Clinging to the wine glass again for the third time, the expression is solemn and indifferent. "For the last cup, I want you to respect yourself for surviving the end times with great difficulty and tenacity. Because you will also witness the new chapter of the southern border, a prosperous and prosperous world. Raised to the most burning." The crowd kept calling. "Congratulations to Mr. Chang and Mrs. Young on their wedding. The southern border is prosperous and prosperous." Boom. The dazzling fireworks illuminated the entire starry sky. In clusters, it looks good in an instant. Zicheng hugged Wei Ran with a surprised face and lowered his eyes softly, and asked, "Do you like it?" Wei Ran nodded like a chicken pecking at rice and looked at him happily. "Why do you even have fireworks?" Zicheng said with a smile. "I asked Xianxia to help find them before. No one in those fireworks factory warehouses is willing to go, so it suits me." He was bowing his head, warm with a bit of alcohol in her breath. She sprayed her ears and her white and delicate neck, and whispered softly, "Don't you report something tonight?" Wei Ran shyly tilted her head. "I'll talk about it when I go back." Zicheng smiled deeply and magnetically, and she was the only one who heard her magnetic voice. "I want you on top so that I can have enough food and clothing." "Brother." Wei Ran blushed suddenly, covering her face with her hands. In the end, a dull sentence overflowed. "Go back first." The next second, the two disappeared from everyone's sight. The conference room in the office building. At this time, Gu Ming and his party, Xianxia, Sun Xiang and others were already sitting in the conference room. Zicheng sat steadily at the main seat next to Wei Ran. Sun Xiang spoke first. "Mr. Chang, the Shushan base has always been on good terms with you, and you were the one who helped me back then. If we go out this time, the Shushan base is willing to participate in the battle." Just a few days ago, Sun Xiang and Zicheng reached an agreement. A cooperation agreement for exchange of down for grain grown in the south. Because of the special geography of the Snow Mountain base, Sun Xiang later raised down and silkworm chrysalis for the unique snow-top goose that can only survive in the Snow Mountain for many years in the cold. Originally, I thought that the heating facilities could not keep up, but this method can also eliminate the disadvantages as much as possible. This is also one of the reasons why Zicheng invited her to the wedding. He wanted the down and silk from the Snow Mountain base. Of course, this agreement is not just about the exchange of food and materials. Zicheng also took the initiative to repair her heating equipment and provide spare parts. But the condition is that Snow Mountain must meet the needs of the southern border before June every year before it can be sold to others. Moreover, Zicheng finally ordered a batch of top-quality silkworm chrysalis that she had just bred. She gritted her teeth with hatred, but swallowed hard again. At this time, Xianxia looked at Zicheng and said, I tried to send people with supernatural abilities to enter the Zicheng base before, but there was no follow-up. Will there be too much movement in our large area now? Zicheng rested his strong forearm on the armrest of the leather chair, his eyes turned slightly, and his gaze was slightly cold. A deep voice sounded slowly. So you are in the southern border, I will go in. Chapter 164. Go in alone in the first part of the finale. When Zicheng said this, everyone was shocked. Wei Ran was the first to object. Brother, I don't agree. Of course Gu Ming and his party did too. Xianxia frowned. I know you are a god-level god with unfathomable abilities, but isn't it too risky for you to be alone? Zicheng patted Wei Ran first, telling her to be calm. I want to go in, but I won't be alone. I'm speaking on behalf of you and Chen Wei. Wei Ran, Jiang Nanfeng and the others finally calmed down. For Zicheng, the word I often means more than just one meaning. Gu Ming and the others should know about it, but they were disturbed by Zicheng. They are a group. Even if Zicheng is the supreme leader of the southern border base, the most important people are Wei Ran and Gu Ming. People. So like this kind of dangerous action, they will not leave anyone behind. Zicheng looked at Xianxia indifferently. Of course I won't yearn for it alone. When I say stay, I mean you, Xianxia and the county team will stay and stick to the southern border until I come back. Xianxia expression changed slightly. Just a few of you personally. Cheng Shucheng was able to bring nearly 10,000 aliens to the southern border without any scruples last time. And it has already been calculated that there are far more aliens in the Zicheng base than in the last siege of the southern border. Otherwise, how could Xianxia be willing? Of course I know, Zicheng said calmly. It's still a maze of dangers inside, so the more people go, it will hinder my actions, which is not a good thing for me. The base was miserable, and they all asked the southern border base to go out to fight and destroy it. Originally, Zicheng wanted to wait for Xianxia to come out before destroying him, but Xianxia had been hiding in the base since the last time he was seriously injured, and Zicheng had no patience to wait any longer. If the base is a guest, then as he wishes. He took the initiative to go, of course not because of the request of those small and medium-sized bases, but because Zicheng didn't want Xianxia to live anymore, and he wanted Wei Ran to live in a place where there was no security risk. It is impossible to be together every day in the days to come, and he will always have the surprise of being lost and found again, like when he went out last time. Once is enough, and there must be no second time. So Xianxia must die. Xianxia pondered and said, Then there are too few of you, so I'll go with you too. It's absolutely impossible to rely on supernatural powers after entering. Everything inside is blank and unpredictable. Xianxia, you have to stay in the southern border. Zicheng said, when I'm not around, Xianxia may also send aliens to come, and you must guard the southern border here. Although after the last battle, the exposed loopholes in the southern border have been filled, and even if the aliens break through the border defenses and advance to the southern border, they can stop them from 500 kilometers away from the southern border. But who can guarantee that there will be no other emergencies? That's the biggest reason I called you back. Just like the southern border is now an iron wall, there must be a commander who can stabilize the county. Xianxia was silent. But he still felt that Zicheng was too risky, and there were still many things that had not been resolved, such as weapons transportation and supply. Wei Ran seemed to know what Xianxia was thinking, and smiled. General Xianxia, don't worry, we will take care of other matters and we won't go blindly. Wei Ran's words made Xianxia wake up. This group of people is not a fuel-efficient lamp. Before Zicheng went to the southern border, he had a smooth journey. They are very casual, but they will never be blindly arrogant. There is a way. Okay, Zicheng, Then I will follow your orders. I will stay in the southern border. You have one more important thing to do in the southern border. Shangguan Ling was slightly startled. What's the matter? The next day, early morning. Zicheng and his team decided to leave for Zicheng base today. Gu Gu and the others wore black combat outfits, installed their firearms, and packed their equipment bags. There were not only ammunition in it, but also twice as many medical supplies as usual. Wei Ran also made a big bag for Xiao Bai and filled it with enough weapons and ammunition in case Xiao Bai could be used for transportation if she got separated from them. She touched Xiao Bai, took out a red fruit and fed it to Xiao Bai. My Xiao Bai is still a baby, are you afraid? It's still a baby? Don't be funny, which baby is so tall and big and now it's stronger than when it first came here. Xiao Bai is indeed taller than when he first came, strong a lot, but Xiao Bai was still dissatisfied that Jiang Nanfeng roared at him twice. Deafening, very rebuttal momentum. Jiang Nanfeng couldn't take it anymore and covered his ears and said, "All right, little baby, little baby." Wei Ran couldn't stop laughing. That's right, my Xiao Bai hasn't even reached the age of 1. Isn't that just a baby? Wu Xiao Bai rubbed his head on Wei Ran, acting like a baby. When it seemed to touch something that shouldn't be touched, Zicheng looked at it blankly, and it immediately became obedient. After Zicheng and his group packed their things, they teleported directly to a dense forest 500 meters outside the Zhuchang base. When they came out, they had already seen the topographical maps drawn by the people who had stayed in the Zhuchang base before, but it was not clear where the alien lair was. Before coming out, Zicheng also explained a lot. Looking at Chen Wei and the others solemnly reiterated after entering, "You must not act alone without my order." Because at the meeting yesterday, Wei Ran clearly said that her forbidden technique can make everyone is not controlled by others to keep their minds clear, but they can't stop the labyrinth with many traps created with psychedelic abilities. Once separated, it will be very dangerous. It's not that Zicheng is worried about them, but it's definitely not a good strategy to act separately before finding out what's going on in the ever-changing maze. Everyone check your watches and clarify the time. It's 9:40. Wei Ran looked at her wristwatch. 9:40. Several other people also nodded in response. It is necessary to retreat before 11:58, so you remember that if something happens after entering and we get separated, you must find me or Su Yi to leave the Zhuchang base before this time. Zicheng, his pitch-black eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked sharply in the direction of the nine-fold base filled with white smoke. The predecessor of Zhuchang base was a movie and drama filming base in the past. The red paint on the walls is eerie, and the blue bricks and red tiles of the palace can be seen outside, which is even more eerie in the thick smog. In order to meet the shooting requirements of various scenes, it already occupies a large area, coupled with the many mazes. Even if there is a topographic map, it will not be of much use. Zicheng held Wei Ran's hand, led Gu Ming and the others and disappeared into the dense forest in an instant. Zicheng randomly found a place near the inner wall and entered the Zhuchang base. Gu Ming and Jiang Nanfeng were at the front, Chen Wei, Su Yi, and Yan Yang were defending at the back, and Xiao Bai was guarding beside Wei Ran. Zicheng and Wei Ran are in the middle. In an instant, a protective shield glowing with silver light was summoned. Except for the top-level skills, Zicheng now uses skills without using hand tricks at all, and can be summoned at will. They walked forward unhurriedly. Wei Ran felt strange. It's too quiet here. We guessed that the lair is here, but why is there nothing else but thick smoke? Not a single alien was seen. As she was thinking this way, Jiang Nanfeng's voice was heard over there. There is a situation ahead. Chapter 165. The smog is thick in the front of part 2 of the finale. And there are vaguely a few aliens jumping around as if they are biting and sharing food, and some bloody things fall, and they are eaten by the aliens scurrying out of the dark place below. Lose. Looking at the extremely bloody scene in the distance, Wei Ran said calmly, "It seems to be eating corpses. Is there any ordinary people here?" Zicheng's eyesight is much better than that of ordinary people. Seeing it more clearly than Wei Ran and the others, He said, yes, what they are tearing up now is a living person. It's just that when he saw it, it was too late and it was impossible to save him. So Zicheng didn't take action. The aliens are bloodthirsty and brutal, and once they see the living things in their eyes, they will never let people live. So that person was already at the 9th layer base just now. It was because there might still be ordinary people living here that Zicheng didn't directly order the bombing of the Zicheng base. After all, there were too many issues to consider in terms of position now, and he didn't follow his own heart. The few aliens quickly finished eating and dispersed. Zicheng didn't want to attract a large number of aliens at the beginning, so he used the protective cover to move forward temporarily, but he still couldn't hear other sounds. Chen Wei said later, Brother Cheng, I think all the supernatural beings here have already become aliens, like those aliens just now have supernatural powers. Zicheng nodded. He narrowed his eyes slightly. Xianxia wants to form a large alien county under his orders. He must attack the people in his own base first. Now that the aliens here can travel freely, it proves that this place has become a den of aliens. Wei Ran had a cold face. This place is too big and time is limited. How can ordinary people be rescued in this situation? Zicheng walked left at a fork in the road. Along the way, when he saw someone of the opposite sex, he disintegrated and disappeared into blood on the spot. He seemed to be walking around randomly, but the topographical map of the Zicheng base had been firmly memorized in Zicheng's mind, and Wei Ran soon discovered that there were more and more strange shapes in the places he passed. A small 5-story Western-style building appeared in front of them. It may be that the alien that was just eliminated had a psychedelic barrier responsible for this area. Although the barrier did not disappear, Zicheng could vaguely hear a little sound. That sound came from this building. Extremely unclear, but definitely alive. This small Western-style building was a model house for filming mansions in the past. Although the furniture on the first floor is crumbling, there are layers of dust everywhere, and there is a faint smell of decay. You can still see the grandeur of the place. The whole living room was eerily silent. They walked up the gray stairs to the second floor. Wei Ran also heard a slight sound. The aliens around here were quite dense. This should be regarded as a central area. She looked at Zicheng. Is this a place for Xianxia to stay? Zicheng Lang looked up. Yes, no, judging from the gathering of aliens along the way. There are indeed frequent activities around this direction. But now he is not here. Then how can we find him? Although he can use countless psychedelic powers to build an extremely strong barrier, as long as it is important to him, the barrier will be stronger. I just faintly felt that the surge point of the barrier is deep in the back mountain here. Boom! A heavy muffled sound on the quiet first floor. The security guard Chen Wei and Ren Suyui in the back were on the floor. The two of them took 2 steps down the stairs and looked down. Su Yi reported, Brother Cheng, there is a strange shape that seems to have jumped in from the back window and is now climbing towards the stairs. Go up, avoid it first. Zicheng led them to the second floor, a little further inside. The alien followed closely behind them, sticking out its slender tongue, opening its bloody mouth, and baring its sharp bloody teeth. It appeared in front of them, and then quickly went up to the third floor. Soon 2 more aliens followed. After confirming that there were no aliens coming up, Zhang Nanfen wondered, is this third floor a restaurant? These aliens seem to be in a hurry. After all, only food can make aliens rush like this. Zicheng didn't answer but just said 2 words, go up. The partition on the third floor is different from the room corresponding to a passage on the second floor, but only 2 rooms, which seems to be the master bedroom. The doors of both rooms were not closed. Ming looked at the room next to the stairs and shook his head at Zicheng. Hey ... At this time there was another sound from another room, and it sounded like a faint cry of a person. The door of that room was wide open, and when one looked in, one could only see a dozen or so aliens wandering inside. Zicheng vaguely knew what was inside. Because Ming and Zhang Yanfeng were a few steps ahead of them, they quickly stood still. Just as Wei Ran was about to ask what's the matter, she heard Jiang Nanfeng scolding, fuck. At this moment, Wei Ran also walked into the room, and was too shocked by Yumu inside and couldn't speak. A dozen or so 2-meter-high aliens were not too crowded in the spacious room, and the bed that should have been in the middle had already been broken into broken pieces of wood in every corner of the room. What made them excited was not the Fu Zhangjiang mentioned earlier, but a female alien in the middle. No, that's not a complete alien. From the gap between these aliens who are enjoying themselves crazily, she can see that only the lower body has been alienated into black wrinkled hard armor, and the upper body still maintains human skin and female features. Just the scars were shocking, and the shape at that time could no longer be seen. This woman is obviously a semi-finished product that failed in the mutation, otherwise Xianxia would never have thrown the extremely rare female alien here at will. She experienced unimaginably inhuman treatment. Whether it is a purebred alien or the alienated supernatural beings later, they will all become beasts with no moral bottom line, no shame, and only know how to vent during the estrus period. Wei Ran frowned and said coldly, "How many of the women Xianxia caught before ended up like this?" Zicheng stroked Wei Ran's back gently. Yan Yang has always been elegant and quiet, and now anger appeared on her face. He is really inhuman. At this moment, a strange shape retreated from the woman's face, and before the next strange shape stepped up, the woman turned pale. A pair of empty eyes on the bruised face seemed to have been cut open from the corner of the lips to the ears by a reset device, causing the skin to turn outward, and even the gums mixed with blood that was half red but not black could be seen. Wei Ran was stunned. "Bai Zinzi," Zicheng said indifferently, "For someone like Xianxia, what is useless is discarded." Wei Ran clenched her fists and sneered. He doesn't want to be a human being, so he wants to turn others into monsters like him. Chapter 166. Finale Middle. Tat tat tat. There is movement outside the window. Gu Ming held the gun and leaned out the window. There are a lot of aliens gathered in front, and there are also a large number of aliens coming from a distance. Zicheng pondered for a while and said, "It should be the barrier that was just torn apart and other aliens discovered it." Gu Ming said again, "According to my visual estimation, there are about 1,000 of them gathered and I don't know how far away." Suddenly, a strange shape might have vented enough and wanted to jump out of the window, 3 or 4 French windows, but it chose the window near Zicheng's side. The alien that was a little closer had been reduced to ashes. This abnormality is enough to make other aliens feel a sense of crisis. They all looked around the room. Zicheng stared at these aliens, a flash of disgust flashed in his cold eyes, and he said slowly, "Then, let's play." Following the silent sound of another alien, it was cut into several sections. Gu Ming and the others started to attack. Although the room is large, it is still a constraint for combat. They want to use the laser gun with the silencer to attack, so as not to attract the aliens in front. But after all, there is no ability to quickly wipe out. A few shouted a few times to summon the same kind, although they were killed by Zicheng but also attracted the strange shape with keen hearing towards the small bungalow. Wei Ran passed by Bai Zinzi, suddenly heard her say 2 words. "I." Wei Ran thought of the moment when she first met her. Even though she was a white lotus, she was also a very proud person, and now she has become this person. He looked like a ghost, and was humiliated day and night. "You walk the road by yourself, and you bear the consequences yourself. I'll help you out, just go all the way." After she finished speaking, she pulled out the pistol on her lap, and aimed at her heart several times without hesitation. Some aliens came up from the stairs, and some climbed in through the floor to ceiling windows, and the protective shields were still protecting them. There are more and more aliens in the room. Zicheng said coldly, Ran, take out the T1 bomb and give them a taste." "Okay." Wei Ran took out 3 black boxes that were the size of 2 palms from the space, and Gu Ming and Chen Wei-He and Jiang Fengyian held them, and put them in the room respectively. Zicheng cleared most of the aliens that were crowded in the room, and then removed the protective cover to attract more aliens to this small bungalow for elimination. After removing the protective cover, the sound of the attack could no longer be suppressed, and the surrounding aliens crazily flocked to the small bungalow. Chen Wei and the others in the room were scattered and attacked by the alien. Xiao Bai was originally guarding Wei Ran's side, but was pushed to Jiang Yanfeng's side during the period. Zicheng took the remote control in Wei Ran's hand, raised the volume slightly and said to them, "Detonate in 20 seconds, retreat now." There are too many aliens in the room, and it is impossible to gather in the room, so after hearing this, Gu Ming and the others immediately jumped out of the floor to ceiling windows and fell to the ground, along with the external unit of the air conditioner. Xiao Bai followed Jiang Yanfeng and smashed through the glass and jumped down. Zicheng and Wei Ran stayed at the end, and after making sure they all left, they took Wei Ran and pressed the remote control when teleporting. Bang 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 bang. 3 explosions resounded through the 9 layers base. Not only the small bungalows collapsed, but the impact force also blew up the surrounding houses, and the aliens were also blown to pieces. After Jiang Yanfeng and Chen Wei jumped down because there were many aliens on the first floor, and because the explosion was about to explode, they had to stay away from the small bungalow as soon as possible, so Xiao Bai threw Jiang Yanfeng and Chen Wei on their backs and quickly evacuated. Gu Ming and Yan Yang on the other side left the small bungalow directly under Su Yi's teleportation. So they broke up and divided into 3 teams. Zicheng teleported to a street with Wei Ran. Wei Ran immediately pressed the communication device on her chest to contact Jiang Yanfeng and the others Chen Wei, Gu Ming, Su Yi. Hey! Hey! Except for the sound of the interference signal, no one responded. Wei Ran frowned and looked around, but there were no figures of Gu Ming and the others. She said a little worriedly, "Brother, we got separated from them. Can you hear them?" Zicheng just arrived here for the first time. I tried it for a while, but I didn't hear a sound at all. I can't hear it, it's very quiet here. I could hear a little sound when I was in the small bungalow, but now I can't hear it. Wei Ran thought for a while and said, "Seriously, the aliens were just blown up, and it will take a while. They can't be repaired either. It stands to reason that the gap in the barrier should not be filled so quickly, unless..." Zicheng's cold voice slowly followed Wei Ran's words. His eyes were cold, and he raised his jaw slightly. "This is another barrier. The area is obviously stronger than the barrier just now, and the barrier in this area is spread from the central vortex, which is Xianxia's important place. The back mountain." He looked at the back mountain in the distance and coldly said, "Originally we couldn't get in here for a while. It should be the gap caused by the impact of the explosion of the small bungalow just now that caused the barrier to vibrate and tilt." Wei Ran was worried about Yan Yang and the others. Xianxia and psychedelic will control the body and mind, but the maze inside the barrier cannot be avoided, and what will happen inside is unknown. She immediately turned on the small satellite positioning device, and then happily said the satellite is still available. There are 2 waves of people scattered in different locations, far apart, but the average moving speed of the 6 points on the screen shows that it is inferred that at least people are safe and have not entered this area. Wei Ran took a breath and put away the satellite positioning device. "Brother, are we going to look for them now?" "But I have already entered here," as Zicheng said. "I would not be able to enter for a while. If I go out now, will I be able to come in again later?" Zicheng pondered. "There is a determination in the opened eyelids. We must break this barrier first. Otherwise, even if we find them, it may be difficult to come in again." He turned his head slightly to look at the silent street behind him. "With solemnity, I believe they can come here." Jiang Yanfeng and Chen Wei held guns, followed by Xiao Bai, walking forward vigilantly. But this has been stopping and going for more than 10 minutes. Chen Wei felt strange. He took out the satellite positioning device and took a look. We obviously walked according to the topographic map. This meeting should be approaching Gu Ming's side, but it also shows that we are still not far from where we were before. Why is this? It's like a ghost hitting a wall, endlessly. Jiang Yanfeng didn't put down his gun to watch together. He was still on alert. He just asked, "Has Gu Ming moved?" "Yes, but the situation is similar to ours." This should be what Xiaoran said, that her forbidden technique can keep us awake, but it can't prohibit the actual things that are produced in the barrier, that is, the maze. Let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there is Wei Ran's psychic ability, otherwise there will be hallucinations in this barrier, and what will happen after that is completely uncontrollable. Roar. At this moment, Xiao Bai let out a lion's roar, startling him. On the roofs, houses and streets not far away, a group of aliens came densely in the thick smoke.